Hi guys, that was a project. I believe I am live, a tad tardy. Facebook was hating. Hi everybody. Um, Facebook was having a situation that was going on. So I am a little bit tardy, but I am here nonetheless. I want to give y'all a moment to come in to share the broadcast. For some reason, it wouldn't let me go live in what I scheduled, so I just had to do a live thing. This is new. This capability from Facebook. So apparently, they still have some bugs to work out, and that's okay. So I am here for this much needed conversation. So I'm going to take a sec to share so that people know where we are because it didn't go live in the original thing that I planned. So let me take a second to share. I see a few of you are coming on. If you will do the same for me, if you will go ahead and share on your pages so that we can get people in. And also let me know who's watching because I can't really tell. So let me know who's here and where you're watching from. And then we're going to get this conversation started because it is definitely needed. So I'm just posting on my page so I can alert everyone. And then we'll see what this looks like because I have some things that I really feel like we need to talk about. So that's why we are here. So again, as you all are coming on, if you'll do me a favor and go ahead and share. And then, hey, Arlette. And then let me know that you're here because I can't really see who is on if you don't comment. So if you let me know who's here and where you're watching from, and then share the broadcast for me so that we can get other folks on so that we can have this conversation. I know I've been needing to have it, and I feel like a lot of you all need to have it as well. So help me out and tell the people what's going on because we need to talk. I'm trying to do my deep breath. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for tuning in. Jennifer, you're Aisha's friend, right? I feel like you've hung out with us over on Beautiful Brown Girls before, if I'm not mistaken. Hi, Dash. Is it Dashwell from Miami? Hi. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes for everybody to come in. And then we're going to start our talk. If you all have ever hung out with me over at Brown Versations and on for Beautiful Brown Girls, you know I live a very interactive life as far as what this looks like on live. So that's what this space is going to be like as well here today. So we are going to actually go over some norms. Y'all also know I'm a teacher, so I believe in norms and making sure that we have productive conversations. So we're going to go over that in just a second. In the meantime, again, though, while you're watching, if you'll go ahead and comment. Yes, I've been crazy for planning to come back. All right, Jennifer, awesome. If you'll go ahead and comment, let me know who's watching because I can't see who all is on. I just see that people are on. So let me know who's watching. And then if you'll also let me know where you are watching from so that we can just kind of get a sense of community of everybody that's here. And you all can possibly make connections in the comments as we have this conversation today. I am definitely looking forward to having this conversation. I've been needing to not necessarily get some things off my chest, but I feel like I need to do more than post, right? So I've been doing a lot of posts, but I feel like what's happening right now deserves some actual conversation for us to be able to flush some things out. So I'm just going to give it one more minute before we get started. Again, if you will share on your page or even tag people in the comments so that they are able to come. Hey, Yolanda, so that they're able to come and have the conversation as well. Um, and if you will share the broadcast on your page so that others are able to chime in and even catch the replay after we finish. Hey, Nicole, I love y'all. So these are my sorority sisters, a lot of them, my line sisters that are coming in. So I appreciate you all coming in to hang out. So the first thing that I wanted to do is to kind of do a spirit check. I feel like a lot has been going on, right? And some of us don't necessarily have the safe spaces to really deal with what is going on in our spirit. So, what I would like for you to do is to share in the comments what you are feeling at this present moment, right? And that could be as few or as many as you need to share. But I really want you to search your spirit and think about how your spirit is feeling right now. And if you'll go ahead and drop into the comments what your spirit is feeling, um, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I think I'm going to drop mine in the comments as well, just for the sake of consistency. Um, So the two things that are in my spirit right now is being anxious and hopeful all at the same time. I feel like I kind of go back and forth between those two and really try to rectify both of those depending on what moment we're in and what I'm letting into my space. So that's why I see overwhelmed but hopeful. Yes, I can also add overwhelmed to my plate. To my plate. October said anxiety, sadness, hopefulness, and joy. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of us are kind of living in this dual space of, on one end, we have a lot of um, I'm gonna go ahead. I was gonna say I don't want to say negative, but I'm gonna go ahead and say negative type of feelings when we're talking about anxiety or sadness or feeling overwhelmed and sometimes hopeless. In conjunction with, at the same time, feeling this sense of hope and feeling this sense of joy and kind of feeling like maybe we're on the brink of change and maybe something can really happen this time out of everything that's happening. So Nicole said angry, tired, and hopeful all at the same time. Yes. So when we're trying to process all of that, I feel like my theme for this season is grace and space. And if any of you all that are watching have participated in my life coaching, um, you know grace and space is kind of this space that I transitioned into because I realized that I wasn't granting people grace and space, nor was I granting myself grace and space. Um, so when I say grace and space, I mean giving myself and others grace to feel how they are feeling in that moment and space to allow those feelings to be okay. So my message in all of this is that it's okay to not be okay. Especially for those of us who are black women, we're so used to trying to push past what's going on, or we see that sadness and that anxiety and feeling like we don't have control. We see that as a weakness as opposed to just allowing ourselves to be human and feel those feelings, whatever they might look like. Or we try to push to the more positive feelings and then submerge the negative feelings when in actuality it's possible to exist in both spaces at the same time, right? So my urge to everybody is that you allow yourself to feel what you are feeling. And in the moment that you feel it, allow yourself to fully experience that. Because if you continue to try to suppress it and continue to try to push it down, then what happens is it causes conflicts in your spirit. And it's got to come out one way or another, right? And when it comes out, it often doesn't come out in a productive way. So the best thing in all of that is to acknowledge it and then say, this is where I am. This is what I am feeling. This it just is, right? So not really making a judgment on it, but just this is what it is, right? And giving yourself grace in that process. Um, so Jennifer brings up feeling depressed, right? Which is something that we may be feeling as well. And I do want to destigmatize that for a second, because a lot of times when we think about depression, we think about depression being, I'm so sad and I'm crying, but depression can also manifest as anger and rage, right? And a lot of us are feeling that right now, with everything that's happening, and it can really manifest. Like, I'll be totally transparent, y'all know I don't care. So the other day, when the guy that now lives at 1600 Black Lives Matter Way, formerly known as Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington D.C., but when he came onto the news and he talked about deploying the National Guard, and basically saying he's declaring war on citizens, I personally wanted to open my window and be like, "F this country." Like, I was over it. I didn't have good words to say, right? I just, yeah. So, in that moment, I allowed myself to really just be like, okay, like, this is what I'm feeling. This, I even made a post and I was like, I want to open my window and say, F this country. Like, that was just really what I was feeling in that moment. So, my urge again is that you allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and not try to move past what you're feeling. Even in those moments where you feel depressed and your depression doesn't manifest as sadness, but your depression manifests as anger, or it manifests as rage, or it manifests as you ready to throw something. Um, Finding a productive way for that to happen, right? I see y'all coming on. As y'all come on, let me know that you're watching, because I can't see who's coming on. But hey, so back to what someone else said. So Nicole, she said that she's tired. So this is what really prompted me to say I wanted to do this live. Because what is happening is a lot of us have taken on the burden of educating and talking to people in our circles that may not necessarily understand the depth of what is happening, right? So they may not understand, and this may be black people or white people, honestly, or Hispanic people. It could be people of any race. But a lot of us have people in our circles that are minimizing what's happening, are not understanding how their actions are impacting us. They're well meaning in what they're saying, but not realizing that they're causing more damage, right? So, in our attempts to explain what's happening, it becomes very tiring, because you have to keep doing it over and over and over again. And it's a lot. It's a lot to have to bear that burden and to wear that responsibility of explaining. So I really wanted to, the crux of what I wanted to talk to you all about today was about boundaries. And when I say boundaries, I want y'all to kind of talk to me in the comments about what that means to you when I say boundaries. Um, what comes up in your mind? What does that look like? What does that sound like? Um, Tell me what that word means to you when you hear somebody say boundaries, because that's the most of what I want to talk about here. So I'm gonna pause and give you all an opportunity to drop that in the comments. And then I'm going to say again, for those of you who are just joining us, I see a bunch of you just came on. If you will let us know who you are, because I can't see who is actually joining. I just see that people are on. So if you'll let me know who you are, where you're watching from, and also if you'll go ahead and add to the comments that are already there about how you're currently feeling right now, just so we can get a sense of what you all are thinking. So again, my question that I just asked was about boundaries. When you hear that word boundaries, what does that mean to you when you hear that word? So Arlette said limitations. Okay, sure. I think my neighbor is burning the house down. Their fire alarm is going off, but I think we're okay. It just stopped. Um, Dashwell said, protecting my peace and being mindful of what and who to respond to. October said, respecting people's space, respecting my space, and letting my no be a no with no explanation. Yes. I should have brought, oh, I do have it. Let me show y'all. I need to start like looking for sponsorships because I be out here promoting all the things. So this is one of my favorite books. It's called Boundaries. And the authors are Clownson, not Clownson, Dr. Cloud and Townsend. And it's called Boundaries: When to Say Yes, How to Say No, to Take Control of Your Life. So, some time ago, when I started going to therapy, my therapist recommended that I read this book. Right? She's like, girl, you need some boundaries in your life. Like, you need to read this book, right? And at the time, I had a very cursory understanding of what boundaries meant. I understood it in like or let's say like a limitation to land. Hey Sabrina, a limitation of land, or a physical barrier, or that was just kind of what I thought about. But as I have been doing this work, and as I've been getting deeper into life coaching and working with clients, is just an ever evolving understanding of what it really means to implement boundaries and what that really looks like and sounds like. Jennifer, I see you said boundary, the outer limits of where I'm comfortable, or a comfort zone, what's okay and not okay physically and emotionally. Yes. So what I want to talk about is there are two types of boundaries, right? So there are physical boundaries, and then there are emotional and intellectual boundaries. And all of this is in the context of what is happening right now in the country, okay? So when we talk about physical boundaries, we are, well, let me say a boundary is defined as a limitation, as an actual barrier, as a place where you end and somebody else begins, right? So there are many ways. Yes, Nicole said my space. Yes. Okay, so when we talk about physical boundaries, for instance, everybody has a bubble, right? When I explain this to my students, I would say to them, show me with your hand how close somebody can get to you before you feel that they have invaded your space, that they've invaded your physical boundary, right? So, right about now, news alert that there is a pandemic that's still going on. Coronavirus is very real, okay? Right now, our boundaries are about 6 feet, right? Which is probably a little bit. Further out than many of our boundaries may have been before. Usually, our boundaries before may have been an arm's length, so that's maybe about 3 feet. But now it's double that. Like, I need you to back up for real, and get up out of my physical space, right? Um, so when we talk about physical boundaries, this might include stuff like if somebody touches your hair, right? That would be an absolute violation of physical boundaries. Or I would tell my students not to sneak up behind me. Don't come up behind me and touch me, right? Because that would get your elbow to your throat. So you need to come around the front. You need to use your words. Like, don't touch me if I haven't asked you to. Or somebody, Quisha said, I'm good with 6 feet. I feel you. Or somebody taking a hug or taking a kiss. So they don't ask you for permission. They just feel that they're entitled to take your affection. That's a physical boundary. So that's something that's happening to you physically, with your physical space, your physical body. That people respect or don't respect, right? But we all have those boundaries. Now, the way that you know that that boundary is violated is you feel some type of way, right? Is what we say. So if somebody walks up to you and they just touch your hair, or if somebody walks up to you and for like with touching your face, like that, oh Lord Jesus, I snaps. Okay, I need your dirty hands to not even think about coming close to my face. Like that kind of stuff, you feel some type of way, right? But many of us have been taught over our lives not to respect those boundaries. So if you think about your parents, you may have gone over, let's say, a family reunion, or you've gone over to your grandparents' house or something like that, and they say, go give Auntie so and so and Uncle Bobo a hug and a kiss. And as a kid, you may remember feeling like, I don't I don't really want to give them a hug and a kiss. Like I don't really like them like that. But you were afraid to get in trouble, so you went and did it. Like I can think of a few relatives that when I was younger, they would always kiss me on my lips. And that just always made me feel uncomfortable. And they were older, and I know some people just do that, but for me, it didn't feel good, right? But I had to endure that because if I didn't, then I would be called disrespectful, and then I would probably catch a whipping, and then I would be punished. So what I was being taught was to disregard my physical boundaries, right? Which is not a good practice, right? So my goal in bringing this up is one, to educate, but also to help us to break that cycle, because it's an unhealthy practice to teach somebody to disregard their boundaries, right? But that's just the physical boundaries. Then we think about our emotional and our intellectual boundaries. So these are things that people do or say to us that put us in a position to harm our emotions or to harm our minds. This could be stuff like someone lying to you, or somebody gaslighting you, or somebody calling you names. Like I've been very transparent with my relationship with my mother is not the most positive relationship, and something she used to always do was call me selfish. Right. So, if let's say I went out on a date with my boyfriend and he took me to dinner, and then I would come home with the leftovers, she would eat them because she was like, you didn't bring home enough for everybody else, so I'm gonna eat them. So stuff like that is, it's making me really feel some type of way because you're calling me selfish, but I'm not exhibiting selfish behavior. So now I'm trying to overcompensate to show that I'm not selfish because I'm so conditioned to being called selfish. So now I have to prove myself. But in order for me to prove myself, I have to let down my boundaries so that I'm able to prove that I'm not what you called me. Y'all see how this can be a cycle. Hey, Aisha, I'm glad that you're here. So, when we're talking about these boundaries, many of us have horrible boundaries because we were brought up with horrible boundaries. So, we don't realize what boundaries are. And then, because we weren't taught to have boundaries, we don't respect other people's boundaries and have a very difficult time establishing boundaries. Okay. Now, again, y'all talk to me in the comments because I need to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what questions that you have about all of this, because this is our space to really talk about this, right? And it's not just like the Kimberlyn show. Um, so, talk to me. So, Quisha said the cycle is vicious. It is, because what happens if we never deprogram ourselves, we continue to repeat this same cycle, right? We continue to feel like we have to hold on to people longer than we should because we've been conditioned to believe that when they violate our emotional and our intellectual boundaries, that instead of us saying that's not okay and setting a hard like limit on that, we instead decide, oh, I need to push in and I need to do more and I need to show that I'm worthy and I need to prove that that I'm worth it because I'm not used to setting those boundaries, if that makes sense. So I promised y'all, oh, I forgot to do that. I said I was going to set norms. These are my two norms. I need y'all to speak your truth while you are here with me today. And I also need you to make sure that you're listening for understanding while you're here, right? So I do want this to be a safe place where you're really able to have transparent conversation because everybody's truth looks different, right? Okay, so I forgot to do that. So I did that. All right. So what does this look like in the context of what's happening right now? So, a lot of us have people in our lives right now, currently on our timelines, in our social spaces, and maybe even in our physical spaces that don't get the severity of what's going on, or they're in the process of minimizing what's going on. So, in our attempt to bring some clarity, um, we are, some of us are violating our boundaries that we should have because we're conditioned to having to prove ourselves. Okay. Let me catch these comments. October say, I've been unpacking all of this over the last few weeks, personal, professional, and familial. Woo child, this work, and knowing that I am me and I am okay as who I am today. Quisha said, I have very clear boundaries, so much so would get in trouble for holding on to my boundaries at a young age. Now the people that raised me, my village, complain to me and how I have not changed in my adult age. Yolanda said we have to remove the fear of being alone in order to be fearless and setting boundaries. So let me pause right there for a second. Yes. So Yolanda, that's what I'm talking about. So what happens is because we have not gained that confidence, if you will, that October and Quisha are talking about, that confidence in I know who I am. I know that I've set these boundaries. I know why I've set these boundaries. I'm very safe and secure in who I am. We then are fearful of being alone. So we say things to ourselves like, well, if I say something, then now I'm not going to have this relationship, or this relationship isn't going to remain intact, right? So let's just use friends or coworkers. Friends is a very coveted term. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's just say you have some coworkers your on your timeline who are constantly baiting you into justifying why Black Lives Matter. Let's just say, right? So they're constantly like, okay, but my life matters too, blah, 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 whatever foolishness that they're spouting out at the time. So what we say is, okay, so you explain it, and I'm all about maybe explaining it once or twice. What Kimberlyn is not gonna do is keep saying the same thing. Like you will see. If any of y'all have watched my timeline, I said what I said, and I'm done saying what I'm saying. Like I'm not about to keep going back and forth with you. I've given you facts, evidence, and if you want to be willfully ignorant, that's on you, right? But what'll happen is you continue to try to justify, you continue to try to say why it isn't okay, when in actuality, if somebody cares about you and you say to them something that you're doing has offended me, or something that you're doing is hurting me, they should care enough to stop, period. Because that's what love looks like. If I find out I've done something or said something that hurts somebody that I love, why would I double down on that position? That's toxic, right? But because I'm conditioned to say I'm fearful of being alone, I don't want to lose this friend, I don't want to lose this coworker, this relationship, what have you. I then start to make concessions and excuse it away. Well, maybe it's not that bad, or maybe I came on too strong, or maybe they really didn't mean it, right? When everything inside of me is like screaming like this is not okay, but I am conditioned to proving myself, so then I overextend and excuse away the behavior even though it's toxic as hell. Question. Aisha says, what clues can you look for to know if you can let down your guard and opening boundaries? I always think I know, but then feel like people use it against me later. So that's a great question, Aisha. And this is my policy. So this is the way I explain it to people, right? So I say I have circles of access to my life, right? And if you all have ever, do y'all lock your front door when you come inside? Like when you come inside for the day? Y'all tell me if you lock your door or if you just leave it open. Drop that in the comments for me when you get a second. So I have circles of influence of how I interact with people, right? So I have my very closest circle. These are the people that I can take off every mask. I can be vulnerable. I can cry, I can scream, I can yell, I can be me, I can cuss. Cause listen, I can cuss like a sailor. The Lord is still working on me. Okay. Um, so these people have seen that. right? And it's a safe place for me to be my real self, right? Those are the people on the very inner circle of my life. Then I have circles that go out, right? So every layer, if you will, or every concentric circle has a different level of access, all the way out to that's just somebody that I happen to know, right? Pause right there. So I see, yes, yes, yes. This is in response to do you lock your door? I always do. We got one nope. Sometimes I trip up if I'm rushing inside to see. Alicia, you a mess. Not locked. Yes. Yes, I watch too many crime shows. Yes and no. Okay. Okay. Quisha said, I never heard you cuss. Girl, listen. So anyway, some people on here could testify. But I digress. So why do you lock your door? That's the next question. Why do you lock your door? So Arlette says she's seen too many crime shows, right? That's why she locks her door. Why the rest of y'all lock your door? Answer that. All right. So, like I was saying, so I have these concentric circles, right, of access. So I have the people that are very closest to me. Then I have the next level of people, and these are people, that I make time for. The people in my very closest circle would take precedence over, somebody else, right? So if I'm sharing time with them, I'm not answering my phone. I'm not like we are here. This is it. I'm unplugged. This is my safe space. Then I have my next level of people who have access because these are people that I can keep it real with, but they may have never like really seen me go in the way that I want to go in. Then I have my next layer of access. I can still keep it real with these people, but I wouldn't divulge what I divulge to these people. Then I have next layer of access, right? So I continue to just go out, and a lot of times you'll hear me say stuff like people think they know me, but they don't necessarily really know the real me because the real me is reserved only for certain people. Now that doesn't mean that I'm being fake with other people. That just means that there's a safe space, right? So that might be with your spouse or that might be with your BFF, right? That's a space where you can bring a different level of transparency and vulnerability to the conversation, all right? So, back to this question. All of this connects, I promise. So back to the question, I asked about do you lock your door? Many of you say yes, and then I asked you why. So to keep yourself and your family safe. I don't know other people's intent. Out of habit, that someone could come into my home if I don't lock it. I don't trust the folks outside. Safety is the best thing to keep the elements out. Being a single woman, I'm vulnerable to stalkers and whatnot. We've seen this in real life. That kind of goes back to the crime shows. I don't want someone I don't want walking in, right? Um, only my okay. So this is the correlation. Boundaries are like you locking your front door. So when we come inside our house, we don't just leave the door wide open for anybody to walk in. We don't just leave the door unlocked for anybody to walk in. We walk inside our house and we lock our door because that is the place where we feel safest. Now, you always have the option to unlock the door and let in whom you would like to let in. But you don't just leave it unlocked or open for anybody to do what they decide they want to do with your space. So, what many of us fail to do is we don't lock the door to our heart, to our spirit, to our peace. We leave it unlocked and we allow people to just come in, dump their foolishness on us, talk to us crazy, bait us into conversations, all of that. And then when we really find that to be super detrimental, then we're like, now I got to try to get you out my house. Now I want you to think about this. How difficult is it if somebody decided that they were going to barge into your unlocked door for you to get them out your house? This would be a very serious situation. You got to get the gun, you got to get the knife. It's about to be an all out fight. Like we got to do some things to get this person out of this space that you really didn't want them in When if you had locked the door, the likelihood of them just being able to walk in wouldn't have been so high. So the goal is to have our spirit locked. And then when we recognize and realize people's true intentions, then we have the opportunity to unlock it. So back to Aisha's point of how do you know or how do you navigate this process, right? So in my mind, everybody starts all the way out there. They start across the street, right? So I'm gonna use another analogy for you. They start out across the street, right? So you might be outside, you have a neighbor there across the street. Hey there, hey, all right. That's it, right? Now over time as you get to know them, you might actually cross the street to talk to them, or they might cross the street, but they still outside the gate, right? All right, I see. I saw the kids. Okay, yes, uh-huh. Now, as y'all get to know each other even better, you might invite them onto the porch. Okay, so we sitting outside, you're thirsty, right? You're good being hospitable, you're offering something to drink, what have you, but they still not coming in your house. Then when y'all get to know each other even better, you might allow them into your house, but they're not going into your bedroom. So these are levels of access that you give to people, right? So what we don't do sometimes is vet that process. We immediately allow somebody to just come into the bedroom the first time that you're meeting them, and now we got to fight them to get them out the bedroom, out the house, off the porch, out the gate, back across the street because they never should have been in my bedroom in the first place. They never should have been behind my locked door. They never should have been in my heart. They never should have had access to my peace. So the goal is to and I was gonna say to put up tests, but it's not really tests per se, but it's just paying attention. And one thing I can say that you can do in real life is pray for discernment. And I don't know like how, spiritual you all are that are here in different places or what have you, but basically discernment is your ability to read somebody's spirit. Now, y'all know I like to talk. All of y'all on here know I like to talk, right? But what you will notice whenever you go somewhere with me, if it's a new place, I am very quiet. I don't say much at all. I'm really just kind of hanging out kind of in the background, maybe on the wall, or maybe I'm talking to somebody that I already know. But I am not the one who walks into a room ever and be like, hey, hi, I'm Kimberlyn. Nice to meet you. Kimberlyn, hi, how are you? Great. Oh, yes. Ever. Ever. Because I'm way more interested in sensing people's spirits than I am in hearing the words that come out of their mouth. So what I do is I lean on my discernment. I lean on my ability to be able to figure out what's going on with people and watch how they interact. And what I trust more than anything is my gut. So if my gut says to me don't interact, my words are important and they're valuable, right? So I do not waste my words on people. And that might sound very elitist, but I'm so serious. I do not waste my words on anybody. Everybody is not worthy of my words. That's in my physical space as well as my virtual space. So there are many people that I come along. I'm gonna move it to the virtual space. There are many people that come into my virtual space that it's not even worth my time trying to explain Jack to them. So guess what I do? Block. I'm the block queen, y'all. I will block somebody in a hot second. I'm not even doing this. Not even doing it with you. You're not even worth my time. You're not worth my time. You're not worth my energy. Block. There are other people that I may say, I might try a little bit, then I'll be like, unfriend, done with that. No worries, right? So the whole point is to be able to sense out how to engage with someone before you've engaged with them past a certain point. Okay, so I saw some questions. So I'm gonna go back to try to catch those. Okay, so Aisha said, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, what do you do when they say the same thing? Oh, that hurt me. Why do you keep going back to that? Your agenda is bothering me. Then what? So, thanks for that question. So, what I would say is, well, first I would determine what type of relationship this is. And is this person really worth remaining in my space? So the first thing I would do is do a spirit check. And I usually do this. I'm like, okay, Kim, are you what spirit am I operating out of? Right? Am I operating out of a divisive spirit? Am I operating out of a combative spirit? Am I operating out of whatever, some type of negative spirit? If that comes back and my response is no, I feel that I'm operating out of a very pure place and I'm trying to simply explain what's going on, and that person is dead set on remaining in their mindset, I wish them a good day and then I get them out of my space. Just that simple. Good day, God bless you. And I keep it moving. And I count that as maybe I planted a seed or maybe I didn't. Because some people are willfully ignorant. It is a choice. It is not that they don't understand. It is not that they are stupid. They want to remain in that space. Therefore, God bless you. Good luck with that. Right? It's very different if somebody is seeking true understanding. Then that is a conversation that usually more than willing to have. I may not be able to have it at that time, so that might sound like I'm going to revisit this with you because today is not a good day. Maybe next week. If they're worth that time and energy. But if I see that you hell bent on being stuck on stupid, I'm not wasting my words on you. Have a good day. And that's that, and I just kind of move on. So that is how I combat that virtual situation, right? So Jennifer said, when you've been hurt or violated and have a brick wall, oh Lord, yes, have a brick wall with still enforcements up as your boundary with everyone. How do you let that down and let people in? Thank you, Jennifer. So let me tell you what boundaries are not. Boundaries are not walls. So what happens when you build a brick wall with steel enforcements is now nobody can get in. So this is the truth. The truth is that everybody is not out to get you, even though it might feel like that sometimes. The truth is that everybody is not. So the goal again is to tap into that discernment to determine whose spirit is right, and that looks very different for people. So God helps me like a way, and I don't know if y'all gonna think I'm crazy when I say this, but I don't really care. So I don't know if you all have ever seen the movie Lord Jesus, Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves. If you have not, I urge you to go and see the movie because it is like my life. So, in Devil's Advocate, if you've ever seen that movie, what happens is he'll be talking to somebody or he'll be in a space with people, and all of a sudden, those people turn into demons. Okay? This is how my discernment operates. And my prayer to God was, I need you to make things so clear because your girl be tripping, y'all. Like, I really be out here tripping. So I asked God to, like, give me clear instructions. I be needing emails. Like, I need you to come sit down right next to me and tell me what I need to do because I don't be knowing, right? Um, so I'm like, listen, God, I need you to make it very clear about who is for me, who is against me, or what spirit people are operating out of. So the way that my discernment works is I can see filters over people's faces. So when I look at people, sometimes I see light over their faces, or kind of like not really a halo, but like a glow. And then sometimes I see nothing. And then sometimes I see a filter like a demonic spirit over their face, right? So if you're ever somewhere with me and I refuse to engage with somebody, that's probably why, because I've seen their spirit like manifest, and I'm not about to do that, right? Um, so one is you have to ask for your discernment, like you have to ask for God to show you how to discern spirits, right? But then after that, there has to be you have to know what you're looking for to feel safe. So how does somebody make you feel in your spirit? How do they make you feel physically, emotionally, intellectually? Like how does their presence and the things that they say make you feel? So that means you have to be hyper aware of the types of things that come out of their mouth. You have to be hyper aware of the way that they interact with other people. You have to be hyper aware of the jokes that they make, right? Because in every joke, there is some truth. in every joke, right? So if they're saying like little small things and you're kind of like, but then you find yourself excusing it away, you got to go back to that and ask yourself, what was it about that? Where did that come from? Where was the root of that, right? So then you're able to really unpack people's true intentions about what's going on. Um, and you start with one person at a time, right? Especially if you have been building walls for a while, you have to go through that process of finding out where that hurt happened so that you're able to repair that hurt, and then start allowing your spirit or allowing God to guide you on how you are going to allow people into your heart and into your spirit. But it really has to be in that process of you protecting your peace, right? So again, I'm gonna tell y'all, and they're not paying me for this. This is just me being transparent and how I understood boundaries. So this is a book. It's called Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. Boundaries: when to say yes, how to say no. And this is what helped me to understand what it looked like to be able to institute boundaries. So if you have no idea where to start, I would recommend that you start there. Okay. Aisha said, what do you do when you have misread someone and let them pass the boundary? You politely invite they behind outside that boundary, right? And that doesn't always have to come with an announcement. So if I recognize I've let somebody come in too close, I immediately be like, okay, that's the last time that'll happen, right? So let's say, for instance, I invited somebody into my house and then they say some old dumb foolishness. And I'm like, that's the last time you will come to my house. And then if they ask me to go out to eat, that's no, I won't be going out to eat with you. Um, no, thank you. And that's that. So then I just kind of be like, I guess they'll figure it out. I can't say that that's the best way. That's probably not the best way, but that's how I manage it. I just kick them out. Like I kick them out a level, and I just be like, okay, I'm done. Now, if this is a relationship that I value, I make an attempt to let them know how their actions impacted me, and then we go from there. So there have been situations that I've had with friends, where I've said to them specifically, what you did hurt me. And when you said that, that 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 really hurt my feelings. And depending on how they respond to that, then that's going to determine whether they get to stay or whether I kick them out. So again, if I'm telling somebody that I love that something that they've done has hurt me, and their response is like, and okay, well, cool. So our season is done here. Thank you so much. And then I just keep it moving. So that's that. Quisha said, how do I navigate this space with white women who want things to remain nice? So glad you asked. So let's talk about white women. Let's talk about white people in general. So I have two categories of white people. I have white people and people who happen to be white. And these are two completely different types of people, right? So, people who happen to be white are people that, for instance, right now are willing to engage in these conversations. They may be saying things to you like, I don't know what to say. I know I need to say something. I don't really know what to say. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I know I need to say something. So, like, can you give me any advice on what to say? Because I know it's not okay. Or these may be people that have been sending you emails or sending you text messages and checking on you right now, right? So they're like, I don't even know what to say, but I just want you to know I love you and I'm here. And I don't really know what to do, but I'm trying, right? These are people who happen to be white. White people, on the other hand, are people that are in the active process of supporting systemic racism, right? So I feel like our job then at that time is to be an active disruptor. So what that sounds like for me in navigating the space with white women who want things to remain nice is, what do you consider nice? So that's my first question. And then I would say, like, for instance, they're like, we just need to all love each other, and everyone just needs to get along. Yes, that's great. But what I'm not going to do is ignore what's been happening, and I'm past the point of remaining silent. So I help me to understand why you don't feel that you should do something about what's happening. And then I listen. Oh, okay, cool. So help me to understand. And I usually just ask people a lot of questions. I ask them to explain their line of thinking, and then I just pick apart what they are saying based on what I know to be truth. But being nice and being, the docile black one, like many times I've been told that I'm one of the good blacks. Well, you're not like the other blacks, which is so crazy because I'm militant as hell, y'all. I graduated from Fisk University, and let me tell you something, honey. I can get on one. So I try my hardest to stay out of there, but it's been unleashed. So I'm kind of just there. But I'm not going to make you feel comfortable by not talking about what happens to me on a daily basis. So sorry that I'm not sorry that it makes you feel uncomfortable. Here's a great book. Where's my other book? Dang, I think it's downstairs. So then I offer them to read a copy of White Fragility. And I say, I wonder, you should probably read this book because it'll help you to understand why it's so hard for you to talk about race. And then I just leave it at that. So that's what that sounds like. Um, Let me see. Aisha said your copy of the book good. So Aisha ordered boundaries. Awesome. Yolanda said there's power in numbers. Now is the time. Absolutely. So and one thing I will say that I appreciate with people who happen to be white and white people alike right now is that now is the time where they're not all, a lot of them, I can't even say most, a lot of them are trying to find ways to show that they're not racist, right? So, what I feel like we need to do is have demands on the tip of our tongue and to really just be like, oh, okay, you want to show that you're not racist? Great. Here's a list of things that you can do in order to show that you're not racist, right? So, if that looks like at work, so for instance, our local school district here. Anytime I talk to anybody, I'm going to continue to push for creating culturally competent schools and mandatory cultural competence training, implicit bias training, so that people have to face the biases that they have. Anytime I talk to somebody, oh, y'all putting out statements about how you're against racism? Cool, cool. Put your money where your mouth at. Put these actions behind that, right? Now is the time for us to really capitalize on that because they're trying to prove that they aren't racist, which not being racist is not a thing, right? You're either anti-racist or you're supporting racism. Those are the only two things. That's it. Not racist is not a thing. Okay. Um, but I push them to put some actions behind what they are talking about. So that leads me to the last thing I wanted to talk about. Then I'm gonna let y'all go. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is what your role is in this fight. Okay. So what I would like for y'all to do is to write down. See, and yes, she said White Fragility book was a good beginning for my mostly white coworkers. White Fragility changed my life, and White Fragility is written by a white author to white people. But that book, I was like, girl, I'm about to throw something. You out here preaching. Like, it just made me feel so validated, like I was not crazy. Even though I knew I wasn't crazy, but we spend so much time getting gaslit that you might think you crazy, right? But it really, that was, that was the one right there. Um, October said, not racist is not enough to be an ally. You have to be anti racist. To me, that means speaking up when it is uncomfortable and when things are important relationships and positions are on the line. Yes, there has to be some type of sacrifice. And I even push past allyship and say we need comrades. We need people that are in the fight with us. So, speaking of the fight, I want you all to write down what you feel like your role is in this fight. What is your particular personal role in this fight? So October, what is your role in the fight? And what is your role in the fight? Quisha, what is your role? What is the specific thing that you are supposed to do in this fight in order to move progress forward? Okay? So while y'all do that, I'll share what my role is and what my role is not in this fight, right? So I'll start with what my role is not. My role is not to be on the front lines of the protest, right? Um, and though I a lot of times wish that it was, I sometimes romanticize this idea of, I would have been in the Black Panther Party back in the day. I'm out here about to go to jail on for these fools. Like, I'm about to do this, right? But what I realize is that's not the place that I'm most effective, My most effective place is right here. And the reason that it's right here is because I've been blessed with these platforms where people actually listen to the words that's coming out of my mouth. So when I think about the fact that I get to facilitate professional development for the largest employer in the county that I live in. I host two shows on the Beautiful Brown Girls platform. Y'all are here hanging out with me right now, right? I'm a life coach. So I'm an educator, right? So my role is in educating people on how to use their voice, how to be confident in the words that are coming out of their mouths, and how to recognize their true purpose in life. That is my role, right? Even though I feel like I should probably be out in these streets with my sign, I know that my most effective place is right here doing this. Okay? So October said, God called me to continue to be the hands and feet through service to the community, and that is why I'm going home to serve. Okay, tell me a little bit more about that, October. What does that look like? Tamara said, change the perspective, educate people in a way that they don't see the stereotypes. Yes, so I can relate to that. Tamara, mindset shifting. That is my role. Presenting facts and data and evidence is my role, right? Um, like I say, empowering people, introducing them to their purpose is my role. Because if you know your purpose, then nobody can tell you anything different from that because you know in your inner knowing why it is that you were even placed on this earth. Aisha said, my role in this fight is to educate others about what white privilege looks like. Work with my students of color to understand their worth. Protest, sign petitions, make calls to the local government, donate to black organizations and charities, fighting the fight, supporting black owned businesses as much as possible with my dollars. Nicole says, support black businesses, love black children. Oh, October, I did not know you were from Minnesota. Wow. Okay, so going there to help rebuild, serve, give rides, get supplies to people, truly serving people. I love that. I did not know, girl, I keep finding out stuff about you. That is so cool. So the reason why I want y'all to, and I'm still waiting on some more of y'all, Denise and Quisha, Sabrina, Jennifer, Alicia, Adrian. I want y'all to write what your specific role is in this fight. And if you don't know, it's okay to say that too. Um, so the reason I wanted y'all to do this is because we get in the habit, especially as black women, of downplaying our role in this fight. And we fantasize, like I just said, about being on the front lines. You know, people might say stuff to you like, if you ain't been to jail, you ain't really been out here fighting. And let me tell you, that's a lie. Okay, everybody ain't meant to go to jail. Now let me tell you something. I ain't trying to be in there with Bertha and them. I'm good. Okay, that I don't need to prove anything by going to jail. Okay, that is not where I'm most effective, right? But there are some people that is their role. Their role is to be a disruptor in that space, right? But that's not my role, and I know that. So for me to try to force myself into that role is going to be counterproductive. Now I'm a distraction to what's happening because I was never meant to play that part. My part is over here, and it's important for us to know. Yolanda said, I believe one of the biggest civil rights arenas for today is equity and education. My purpose is to help facilitate parts of these processes adequately and effectively. Sabrina said, to pray, to ensure that I educate students in the classrooms and their families. Quisha said, I'm called to educate my community, children and their families. This includes all levels of literacy, financial, mathematical, and reading. Ann says, so far I have been protesting and asking police during questioning sessions what they will change about the police unions. Yes, right? So I want y'all to own whatever that is. right? I want you to own that role because that role is significant in the fight. So even if we go back to thinking about the civil rights movement, there were people who, if we just think about the Montgomery bus boycott, for instance, there were people who drove the cars. There were people who made phone calls. There were people who organized things behind the scenes. There were people who were in the forefront. There were people who were in the background. So you have to know where your part is so that you can own that part and do that part well. To Aisha's question, is it possible to do too much? Yes, because we don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. So, what is the thing that you are specifically called to do? Now, there are going to be like fringe benefits, right? So, for instance, I am planning on closing my account with Regions Bank to make my account with create a account with One United Bank because it's the largest black owned bank, right? That is a fringe benefit, but that's not my role. My role is to educate, to help people discover their purpose, to empower people to speak truth to power even when their voice shakes. That's my role. In that role, I can touch on all these other things, but my role hasn't changed. I hope that makes sense. Um, October said, I love all these purposes as they are all important to moving us to where we need to be. Right. So, what I don't want us to do is be in the habit of discounting the work that we are called to do because you feel like it's not in the forefront, so therefore it's not important. That's a lie. Okay. So, that's why I asked y'all that because I think that sometimes we don't really know what we're supposed to be doing. So it's very easy to get tossed to and fro. This is another boundary, right? So when I know what my purpose is, then I can be focused on that and making sure that I'm doing that well because this is where I've been called. This is the role that I'm supposed to operate in. So all the other things that come up to distract me, I'm not worried about that right now because this is what I am called to do. This is the message I'm called to continue to repeat until people get it. Um, Denise said, my role is to educate members of my community as to the importance of building healthy relationships among each other and encourage them to become stronger in financial literacy and more positive encounters with law enforcement. I love it. Cassandra, continue to educate people on the importance of voting, continue protesting and having I lost it. Continue protesting and having confederations with those interested in having them. Yes, yes. Jennifer, for me, those conversations are so important. Try as I might to understand, I have never been a black woman. That's why I come here or talk to my other black friends. It gives me a better understanding of what you all go through every day. Um, I'm Jewish. I can hide that if need be, and I've had to from time to time, but you can't hide your skin. And Jennifer, one thing I'll say that I appreciate about you, and I don't even know you, but I know that you're connected to Aisha. But one thing I can say about you is that you place yourself in a position to learn, right? And that's what's really important is to be able to sit as a student when you recognize there is no way I'll ever be able to understand what you're going through, but I want to know how I can use my platform to help. That's a very powerful position, and that's what I mean when I say we need comrades. We need people who are willing to sacrifice to say I don't get it, but I understand why I should get it. So let me do everything I can to try to help other people that look like me get it because they out here tripping. We need that. And we as black people have to be able to embrace those who truly want to fight alongside us because we cannot do this by ourselves. When you look at the systemic racism and you look at the policies and white supremacist thinking, as black people, we don't have the power yet to dismantle it by ourselves. So we really need allies and comrades and people who are asking, well, what can I do? Let me tell you what you can do. You can go talk to your people and you can take all this good education that I just gave you, and now you can go tell your people because they listen to you. So, thank you. Right? Is what that looks like and sounds like, and we do need that. So, thank you for that. Um, So Ann said the crowd is waking up. We have to keep demanding. Yes. So we really have to have these things on the tip of our tongue when you're talking to people. So Ann, for instance, when you're asking questions to the police, and really the police unions are so problematic. Like, deep breath. They are so problematic, and we need people who are going to press them to make a real change, right? I am not impressed. This is just a side note, and then I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I could do this all day, but I'm not gonna hold y'all too much longer. I am not impressed with people making these statements right now and all of these apologies, and I'm not. I'm not impressed because a real apology is change behavior. So I'm looking to see what you're going to do. But if we don't come with a list of demands for things for you to do, then it just fizzles out. And we can't afford for that to happen. So we have to always have a list of demands on the tip of our tongue about what it is that we're asking when someone in a position of power says, well, what can I do? Let me tell you what you can do. And then you give them the list. Okay. Um, so yeah, so Quisha said the history of police is rooted in fugitive slave law, and it is. Um, the whole system is rooted in keeping black people down. Um, and that is because of white fragility. So if y'all have not read that book, I highly suggest that you get the book, whether you are black, white, Jewish, Hispanic, whatever. I really suggest that you get it and you read it because it really helps put things in perspective, and it helps you again to have the vocabulary to utilize when you are trying to address a lot of the things that are going on. And that's what a lot of times what we need, because people tune out when we don't have the appropriate words, right? But if y'all haven't gotten anything out of this today, which I know that you have, I really want you all to examine your boundaries about how you're deciding to interact with people. And I really want you to own that role that you have in this fight because that's supremely important. So I'm gonna give y'all, if y'all have any other questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I said, so this, let me be transparent again. So what God has been doing with me, I do not like to be in the forefront, y'all. And I know some of y'all are like, that's so crazy because you always talking about something and being on somebody's something somewhere. But I really don't. Like, I really prefer to just be in the background and not be doing all of this, right? So maybe for about 3, 4 years now, God has been like, ma'am, I need you to use your platform. I need you to talk to these people and I need you to share X, Y, and Z. And I be in here fighting. I be like, I ain't about to do that. And God be like, what did I say? And I be like, I ain't gonna do it. And he be like, watch, I bet you will, right? And I never went. So I finally decided to submit, and I had shared a couple weeks ago, like I'm gonna do a podcast, and really start utilizing and building my personal platform for the things that I am doing, because I know that God has given me a specific role and specific purpose. So I'm going to do this more often. And I appreciate y'all for coming and interacting and supporting me and what have you. I also want to remind any of you that may not realize I am a life coach, and my curriculum is called Discover Your Destiny, and it's for women who are looking to discover their God given purpose, right? Or strengthen their God given purpose. So I have an 8 week program that I take you through, and it really gives you the opportunity to unpack how you were designed and how you were created and why you were created that way with a particular purpose in the world, and what it is that you are supposed to do in the world and how you're supposed to impact people. So that may be for you, or it may be for somebody that you know. Okay. So if you or someone that you know needs my services, please let them know, or let yourself know to let me know, so that we can really empower you to truly own how you were created and what your particular purpose is. Okay, I am seeing myself moving into doing this full time because your girl can't be quiet, y'all. I be out here trying not to talk, but clearly that's not my purpose. So, it is time for me to take my purpose seriously as well and to really do what God wants me to do. So, because I know that this is my community here, I am asking that you all help me to spread the word about what I do, because this is clearly what it's supposed to look like. So the last thing that I will say is what I hear y'all commenting over there is about voting. We do need to make sure that we vote. I ask you to squash anybody who is out here talking about our vote doesn't count. That is a lie. But I'll also say in the most important elections, even though yes, we need to focus on the presidential election, are these local elections. So make sure that you're paying attention to the things that are happening locally, because the policies that are being set locally are the policies that affect you directly. Okay. Um, Federal policies trickle down, but there are direct policies that are being made right in your face that you may not be aware of because you're not aware of your local politics. So get involved in your local politics. That's your school board, your city council, your county commissioner, um, your police chief, your attorney generals, like all of these things, the judges, y'all, the judges, y'all, the judges. Um, get involved, ask questions, go to the forums. If they start having meet and greets, go. If they're virtual meet and greets, go. We have to ask questions that matter so we can get people in position that are willing to see us as they are helping to create these policies. Okay, so I know here in Tampa, our primary is August 18th. We've been having virtual forums for school board candidates, for instance, but get connected. Like when I tell you my eyes have been opened in a whole new way that I never, in Tampa is not my home, but I've been here long enough to should have been gotten involved in what's happening. But now that I am involved, I will never not be involved again, because there are so many personal agendas that are out here, and we just really have to expose those people and get them out the way and out of office, right? And ask questions that matter. So Tamara said, get involved, build relationships. Relationship builds influence. Yes. So we can't afford to get so tired that we tap out. Okay. And that's why we have to have those boundaries established, because we're wasting energy on insignificant things and insignificant people that we can't, again, focus on what we're supposed to be doing. All right. So make sure that you and everybody that is connected to you understands the importance to vote, that they are registered to vote, that when it comes time for us to go and vote, that you taking them to the polls, like make yourself available so that we can get every single vote that we possibly can. Okay. So I'm going to ask again that you all share this broadcast. Somebody needed to hear something that I said. We went a few different ways. Thank you to those of you who have been hanging out with me. I really appreciate you all from the bottom of my heart. And again, we'll do this more often. So maybe there are more things we want to talk about. So I'll make a post and ask, like, what are some of the things that you want me to unpack? Or maybe we just need a space to be able to have a conversation, and that is a okay too. So, share the broadcast. If you haven't liked my page, Kimberlyn Jackson, go ahead and like my page. Follow me on Instagram at Kimberlyn J, KIMBERLANDJ. And if you have time, tomorrow we have another episode of Brown Versations. Brown Versations happens on Beautiful Brown Girls platform, and that is a place where we as brown women come together and inform ourselves, but also find some type of joy in the midst of the chaos. So we have our next show tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern over on Beautiful Brown Girls. So I would love to see you all there. You are welcome. It is my pleasure. And we'll talk again soon. Love y'all. Bye.